Hello and welcome to Pixelated Zen presents Nostalgialess, where we review both old and new without nostalgia skewing it one way or another. Today, we're going to be checking out Assassin's Creed 3, specifically the PC version, though most of what I cover will be the same for either of the console versions as well. Developed and published by Ubisoft, Assassin's Creed 3 is, as you would probably assume by the name, the fifth main game in the Assassin's Creed franchise. It's possible that some people would argue that Brotherhood and Revelations are not main AC games. But they're wrong. Both Brotherhood and Revelations advance not only the story of Ezio and Altair, but the story of Desmond Miles as well. Desmond Miles is the current year assassin whose memories you've been swimming through since Assassin's Creed 1, and I think I might be the only person alive who doesn't actively hate the character. In fact, I kinda like him. Sure, he's as bland as a bland thing without any condiments, but it's the world around Desmond that I love, often more so than the historical periods that we get to explore in the main AC games. Well, that said, AC3 both continues and concludes the adventures of Desmond Miles, and we'll get to that a little bit later. The majority of the gameplay you'll be finding yourself playing as Connor, a half-English, half-Native American ancestor with an Indian name that I can't actually pronounce. Seriously, it might as well be Ratatouille as far as I'm concerned. When you first boot up the game, you get a quick Animus tutorial showing you how to move and kill. After that, you get to go into the past, and I was surprised that I wasn't playing as Desmond or Connor, but as an English gentleman named Haytham. It's a quick tutorial level that'll have you traversing a small theater and assassinating a target. It's a pretty awesome tutorial. Well, it would be if I hadn't just had another tutorial right before that. Still, Haytham gets sent to the colonies in North America to find the ruins of some pre-people, or ancestor people, or whatever the hell they're calling them. These are the people who made those apples that everybody's looking for. They must make some killer cider with those damn things. While on the ship, the game teaches you some more about the mechanics, such as talking to NPCs, how to play some minigames, and how to counter. When Haytham finally arrives at the colonies, and you start setting up with a group of like-minded men in order to find the ancestor site you were sent to locate, the game starts taking shape. The story is interesting, but the game is extremely linear at this point, and it seriously feels like you're going from cutscene to cutscene, often watching your character walk from one cutscene to another in a cutscene. It's a terrible way to start out an Assassin's Creed game, making it feel very boring and linear. Then, you find out that the guy you've been playing as, Desmond's ancestor and Connor's father, is a fucking Templar! Holy shit, that made me nerdgasm, you have no idea. I'd managed to avoid spoilers of the game up to this point, and that's where I realized that, oh yeah, this game is gonna be frickin' great. Then you switch to Connor as a 5 or 6-year-old, where you begin playing hide and seek, and the game gives you a tutorial on walking, interacting with people, and hiding. Okay, well there went my excitement, but I guess maybe the lull's necessary to get you, more interested in the highs that you're gonna run into. Yeah, that's probably it, right? Now once you finish with that, you move ahead some years and play as a slightly older Connor. This starts a tutorial that teaches you how to free run along the trees, hint, you hold down your right mouse button and press forward, and how to hunt. Now the only reason to hunt is to get crafting materials or to sell so that you can buy things like new costumes or consumable items like arrows in town. You'll also discover that any larger animal, unless you shoot it or get the drop on it from stealth, becomes a quick time event fight. And it's kinda lame, honestly. It almost feels like it could have been great, which is sad, if you could have gathered the feathers, gathered some animal teeth, some wood, whatever else, and crafted your own arrows or traps or weapons or the food you need to survive. It could have been amazing. But with the Assassin's Creed combat, i.e. press a button and something dies, it feels a little flat. Sort of like in Red Dead Redemption if every time you pulled the trigger, you killed something without even trying. After this, you get a mostly on-rails section that's trippy as shit. Seriously, you're basically having a peyote trip thanks to an apple of Eden that your tribe has been protecting this whole time, apparently. You're given the quest to go out and become an assassin, because apparently the ancestor people were prejudiced against the Templars. At this point, you still aren't allowed to do any side missions or anything else really, so you just run for what seems like forever in order to meet up with the older assassin gentleman named Achilles, an older African-American man who, after you've proven that you're serious about wanting to become an assassin, agrees to train you. Achilles explains about the assassins and the Templars and takes you into the city to buy some necessities, which is basically a tutorial to teach you how to buy from the shops and what you can do around the city, and are you fucking kidding me? This is getting ridiculous. I have to stress to you at this point that I'm 5 hours into the game, and I feel like, aside from a very brief, very linear moment as Hatham, I feel like I've been playing a goddamn tutorial. I'm no longer having any fun, and any enjoyment I expected due to the Templar twist is just gone. Now, I'm not some Twitch idiot that needs constant action. I play and enjoy old school RPGs, I play adventure games, and I don't mind slow starts. What kills me is when it feels like I've been going from cutscene to cutscene for hours without anything resembling enjoyable gameplay. If I wanted that, I'd watch a movie, and it would probably be better. But, just as I was ready to quit the game, there's some trouble brewing. Hatham is there, and he's trying to cause a riot to go down, so Achilles sends you off to trail a suspicious man acting under Hatham's orders. You follow him onto a nearby rooftop, and you see that he's about to fire into the crowd, so you take him down. One of the Templars just fires into the air anyway, though, so the riot goes down and you're immediately being chased. This is what I've been waiting for. I start leaping across rooftops, I'm jumping down, taking people out with my hidden blades. I feel like a badass, and this is where the game finally starts to open up. From here, you can do the traditional Assassin's Creed things. You climb tall buildings to synchronize and fill out the map, you collect a ton of items, you liberate forts, and there's even some new things thrown in. You now have the ability to recruit people for your homestead. If you complete their mission, they'll set up shop in the same area that Achilles is in, and this is what allows you to craft. You can level up each homestead NPC in their chosen craft, and the higher they get, the more stuff you can make. Sadly, I didn't much bother with it though. Why? Well, one, it's not necessary, and two, you have to do a terribly boring mission where you need to sit and watch the NPCs go about their daily lives and use assassin vision to watch them do certain tasks. It takes forever. Have you ever just sat around and watched NPCs go in their loop? It's awful. Still, the Frontier has some really cool new mission types, including frontiersman missions in which you track down early American myths, such as Bigfoot or the Lighthouse Ghost. Don't worry though, the game doesn't swerve even farther into the fantasy genre just yet. The Frontier itself is basically the same as the Wilderness in AC1, but you have much more to do, and with the tree running, it was extremely enjoyable. I just wish that more had been done there. One of the other major changes in the game is in the firearm area. This being the colonization of America, firearms are much more common than in Ezio's day. And while I was worried about this, it turned out to be one of my favorite changes to the formula. You can fire a gun and reload, but the reloading takes forever, and you most likely won't ever get to do it in combat. Not to mention, you're not going to see the actual reloading. Your guy kind of waves his hand in front of the barrel and it looks pretty wrong, actually. Enemies, though, will continue to surround you as they usually do, and they'll attack you in melee. However, some, the ones with rifles, will usually stay back and form a firing line a few feet away. When a yellow marker appears above an enemy's head, it means they're about to shoot, and often you can double press space to use an enemy as a human shield. That firing line will then start reloading while the melee units keep you busy. You can, of course, ignore melee units and break the firing line, and it all just feels freaking amazing. The assassin recruits in this game are also different. You only get 6 this time, but each one is a fleshed out character, and they don't go really in depth into their backstories, but you can talk to them and they each seem very unique. They each also have a unique ability that you get once you've recruited them. You can press T to select what type of assassin ability you want to use, and from the traditional assassination, to sniping, to dressing up as the enemy to get you through certain areas unnoticed, it's a great change, and I found myself really attached to each assassin. Sadly, they can't die, so there's no real reason not to use them anytime they're up. In fact, they get more experience the more they're used, so you pretty much are just pressing T whenever you want. Toward the middle of the game, Connor ends up in prison. Storyline-wise, it fits just fine. Gameplay-wise, the last thing this damn thing needed was more downtime. I mean, who was playing the game, spent the first 5 hours doing almost nothing but watching cutscenes, then started actually getting into the meat of the game and said, whoa, 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 things are kind of moving fast for me, let's slow it back down. Can we take away the ability to free roam and explore? Awesome. What about the ability to do side missions and anything else but go from cutscene to cutscene? Yeah? Excellent. I mean, it's just not necessary. On top of that, I feel that some of the biggest moments in the game are ruined by sudden changes in the rules. Particularly when you're crossing the battlefield in a specific mission, I had to retry the damn thing a dozen times in order to figure out what the hell I was doing wrong, because you're no longer allowed to move around like you normally do in the Assassin's Creed franchise. Still, the ending was enjoyable, both for Connor and Desmond. I thought Desmond's ending was a bit rushed, but it could lead to some really great current timeline stuff in the next Assassin's Creed games. Connor, on the other hand, was much more melancholy, and I absolutely loved it. Of course, the colonists win their war for independence, thanks in no small part to Connor, but we're shown that while it's great for people like George Washington and Paul Revere, it's still not a good ending for people who like Connor or Achilles. They're still considered less than human, including having George Washington order the slaughter of Connor's village, which actually makes sense in context, as well as showing slave trading in the same square as the colonists celebrating their victory against tyranny and oppression. It's a sobering slap in the face at the end of the game, and I thought it was beautifully done. So, overall, what did I think of Assassin's Creed 3? Well, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, the pacing is terrible, and the entire first half of the game is far too linear, but the story's interesting, and once it opens up, it became my favorite Assassin's Creed game. I absolutely loved Connor. I thought watching him grow from a petulant child to a jaded adult with very little faith left in humanity was extremely enjoyable. The changes they've made to the formula, the ship combat, and the guns specifically are great additions to the franchise. Sadly, the pacing kills off a lot of the fun, and many people will probably never get to the part of the game that's actually enjoyable. This game also has a fair share of bugs, from NPCs not moving their lips while talking to people just disappearing altogether. Still, when taken as a whole package, the game is worth playing. While I loved the later portion of the game, I doubt I'll ever play it again due to the extremely slow opening. I recommend the game for any Assassin's Creed fan, but I can't really recommend it as a top-notch game to everyone else. You won't have any idea what's happening in the current timeline segments as Desmond, and the gameplay will seem linear and boring for the majority of the game. The big Templar twist will also be lost on any newcomers. So if you still haven't tried an AC game, wait for Black Flag, and hope that they've ironed out some of the issues with the new engine.